everyone. We want to welcome you today to Recovery in Action. I'm Sharon Cranfield, and I'm your host, and it's so good to have you here. I just want to tell you a little bit about what I do. I'm from the House of Ruth. I'm the director, and I work with people that are struggling with addiction and that are needing help, that's wanting a hand up instead of a handout. And there's a lot of people that is affected by addiction, and we just want you to know that we're offering hope today. There's always a way out of whatever you're in, and we just want to let you know today I have a special guest today with me. Her name is Susan Sexton Wood, and we're very glad to have her. She is actually in recovery, and she's the executive director of Unchained Praises, and she has quite a testimony, and we're so excited to have her. And I want to tell you a little bit about some things that's upcoming in the community in August. August 6th, actually she is hosting Unchained Praises at Higher Praise, and it's for anyone, it's open to the public, anyone that may know someone that is in addiction, that someone that just family members. It can be anyone, a friend, husband, wife. It affects everyone. But it just gives you encouragement, and you'll hear speakers there that will tell you of their recovery and what they're going through. And it just gives everyone hope, and everyone that is there will help you with resources, encouragement, prayer, anything that you need. There'll be food. They sing. It's just a very powerful event, and we would like to invite anyone. And again, it's August 6th, and it's at the Higher Praise Worship Center, and it's out on Ziegler Road, and it starts at 11 a.m. and it's till 1. And then on August the 8th, they're having backpacks at not at Glenn Miller. It is at the Miller Building here in Connersville in the gymnasium. And from 3 to 5, there's going to be hairdressers there that's actually going to be giving haircuts. But the total event is from 3 to 7. And anyone in the community that is needing backpacks, school supplies, they are going to be able to get them. So anyone that is needing that, anyone that you know of, just show up, and they're going to be given out. I think the last count I had, they have like 1,000. And so, and we know there's a lot of people in the community that are in need, and it's just another helping hand to help people in the community. And we know when you have children, it's expensive to send them to school, and this is just a reaching out tool to help you, to help in the community. And Michelle Fox, Vonda Bishop, there's several people that's involved in this. You can give Michelle at Foxy Catch, you can give her a call if you have any questions, if you want to volunteer, anything that you need to do. For any further questions, you're welcome to call them. And as we said here, Susan and I have been talking, and I just want to go right into the program and let you know that there is hope out there. There's resources, there's programming, there's meetings. At the House of Ruth in the Education Center next door on Thursday evenings, I just want you to know that there is a group that it's called Families in Action. It is for people that have, that may be struggling, family member, even a friend, anyone that's struggling with addiction or knows someone struggling. Blanche Gallimore teaches a class there, and it's very, very educational. It will help you, encourage you, and it's one of those classes that you can kind of come and talk and see that there's other people going through the same thing that you are. So I just want to encourage you, anyone that wants to go, it starts at 6:30 on Thursday evenings, and anyone that would like to go, just come on up. It's at 328 Summit Avenue. So if you'd like to come, or you need to call the House of Ruth at 825-3333 and ask for more information about it, you're welcome to. And now I would like to introduce to you Susan Sexton Wood, the Executive Director of Unchained Praises. Welcome, Susan.
Hello.
It's good to have you. And I know you have quite a story, quite a testimony. And as you know, and I know, our community, the nation, I mean, the world really is affected by addiction. And that's one reason that I really wanted and felt impressed to start this show, is to let people know that there is recovery. It does happen, and there is hope. So as long as we have breath, I always say, as long as there's breath in our body, there's hope for recovery. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you got started into the Unchained Praises, how your life has been affected by addiction.
Okay. Well, I am a recovering heroin addict. In 2011, I woke up next to my fiance dead of overdose. So I wasn't even ready to really get help then. But there were just things that started to happen in my life, motivation from people that got me thinking about changing my life. And so I did start reaching out and asking for help. And at the time that I was reaching out for help, there weren't many organizations, and I went into a hospital and just told them that I was going to kill myself if they didn't help me. And I had to beg for help. Today, I don't want people to beg for help. I want it to be out there. And there are several organizations now that it's there. If someone wants help and they just reach out, and we're desperate at
Yes.
the end of addiction. And I want people to know that there is help and not to stop reaching
Absolutely.
out. Because we have to be determined to change our life.
That's what I tell a lot of people. If they were as determined for recovery as they are chasing that drug, I call it chasing that drug, because you have to want recovery.
Right.
And you, as well as I know, I mean, you desired that. You wanted that more than anything, and look where you are today.
Right.
I mean, and that's offering hope to people. And just tell us a little bit about what you do, and how you're helping people, and just a little bit of your testimony on how you got to where you are.
Well, we are founded off of the events, which you mentioned on the 6th, that we're going to have another one. We actually service 3 counties now, and really we've been doing it for over 2 years now. We do Winchester, which is Randolph County. We're in Wayne County, which is Richmond, and then we're in Fayette County, which is Connorsville. And we do 12 of those a year. We're here every 3 months. We try to bring the community together, because this is not just my problem, it's a community problem. Addiction, you have to start with the addict. If you don't start with the addict, there's no chain reaction going to happen. Once we get better, then our families start to heal, and then the community starts to heal, because we're not stealing and we're not out there breaking the law. So it's a healing over all that needs to happen in the community for addiction to stop, but then for things to get better in the community. The biggest thing is for families to heal. So with Unchained Praises, we were founded off the events, but God has opened other doors. And today I am a certified community health worker, and I am a certified recovery specialist. So what I do with that is I work one-on-one with individuals. It is open for the loved ones of addicts. I work with parents of addicts. I work with wives of addicts. And what I've found in my recovery is that everyone needs a recovery. With what we've done to our family, they need to set boundaries, and they need to set goals and just things that they're going to have to do to start healing.
Yes.
They have to learn how to not enable, but motivate. And there's a fine line in that. One of my biggest things that I try to encourage people to know is that sobriety and recovery are different. You can take away the substance, and that is sobriety. But if you don't put any work to that sobriety, you don't have recovery. You are still just sober. Mm-hmm. And recovery is a lifestyle change.
Yes, it is.
Today I don't look the same, I don't walk the same, and I don't talk the same. And that's what happens. Families start to be mended. I have 3 boys. 2 of my boys are adults. They've seen a lot of my active addiction, and they're a part of my life today. Are we perfect? No. but we work through things, and we have a relationship that we hadn't had for several years. Usually social services involved, and most people's
DCS.
yeah,
yes.
with their life because of addiction, and I've been in that. My youngest son, he's 11 today, and he was in the system for 2.5 years, and I finally got him back. It will be 3 years this December. So lives can change. We just have to be determined. And today, I am mad at addiction. I'm fighting. I'm not only fighting for myself and my recovery and my family, but I'm fighting for other people too. I have taken my aggressive attitude from addiction and I've put it in recovery. So I'm still aggressive, and I'm an advocate, and it does come out because I want people to know that recovery is possible. We can change.
Absolutely.
And I show the change with my life. I show that if you continue to use, you'll die. And that's where I show my son's father. You know, he's the face of Unchained Praises, because if you don't quit using, you will die. That is ultimately what's going to happen. I remember walking around. I was spiritually dead. I existed. I was on this earth, but I didn't live. I truly didn't know who I was or what living was until I started working on myself. And it starts with us.
Isn't that amazing? Because so many times, you know, and we say this, you have to get to the lowest point. But everyone, very few women that I have met, and this goes along with men, but I deal more with the women, they've lost their children, they've lost their family, they've lost their home, they've lost their job. And, you know, and people says, well, you can't force someone into recovery. You can't force them, but you can sure motivate them by letting them know that there is hope. And that just you coming to the House of Ruth, I know the women, they really do. I mean, they just can't wait till you come because you've been there. So many times people, you know, that are in recovery, you know, and I'm not knocking it at all, because education is wonderful. I mean, I'm constantly getting, you know, want more. But it's one of those things, when you've walked their walk and you know exactly how they feel, and you sit down and you can say, I know what you're going through. I know what you're talking about. I've been there. And then it breaks a barrier there. And I think that's so important. And you're real with people. And that's what most people, you know, you're just real with them. I mean, the different meetings that I've had you come to, you know, we can laugh about it now, but at the time, I mean, I call it intense fellowship, because, I mean, they're really having issues. But when they're in those behaviors and they're not being able to see, you know, the right decision, the right choices, and you know, and you come in and you can shed a little light, you know, and I've heard you tell them, you know, well, you're just being selfish. You know, you're rolling in self-pity, and you know, they're just stopped, they're taken back. You know, I can't believe you just said that, but it's true. And see, that's what sometimes we have to call it what it is. And I think that's why, and I'm not just saying that because you're here. I tell people this. That's why you are so effective in the way that you help people in recovery, is because you're real with them and you love them. You know, you are as aggressive in your recovery as you were in your addiction. And if people, that's why I was saying, if they would use that motivation to get the drug as much to get the recovery, we would have more people like you.
Right. And it does take time to work up to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I know for me, I had to be smacked down with words. And one thing God's done is He has given me a gift to listen, to really hear what someone is saying. Because a lot of times we can say things in the heat of the moment, or just, you know, talking, but we're not really hearing what we're saying. And so that's what I try to help the people that I work with understand, when they're blaming it on their families, or they're blaming it on the authorities. And, well, did you do it? Yeah, I done it. Well, take responsibility for your actions, because you don't heal unless you can be okay with who you were. You have to work
Honest.
through that.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing that I repeat to a lot of different people, and a recovery plan is individual. So I truly sit down with that individual. When I type up a paper for the next week, it is their life. I don't just pull out a paper that I use for everyone. It is about them. But one thing that I share with all of them is you have to be truthful, you have to be willing, and you have to be mindful. If you're not truthful to yourself first and then to others, you can't have a full recovery. If you are not willing to do the work, willing to accept who you were, and willing to fight for your recovery, you're not in recovery 100%.
Right.
If you're not mindful about your feelings and your emotions, where you'll talk to someone about this is happening to me, even if you want to use to say, I feel like I want to use, that's not something that you should hold in. It's okay to say, I feel like I want to use, because at the beginning,
Yes.
you have cravings, you have desires. There's other addictions that you bring into recovery with you. So, and then mindful about your surroundings. If you're going to go around people still in addiction, you're going to use. I can tell you that in 2011, when I started reaching out for help, I ended up in a facility in February 2012. When I left that facility, I went right back to the atmosphere I left, and I truly wanted recovery. I wanted it. So I put 100% into working on myself, but I put myself back in surroundings that within a few weeks of being in that, I used again. Even without a desire to use, I used. And so today, I have to fight a little bit harder. So I put 150% into my recovery, because 100 wasn't good enough for me. And a lot of people, we put ourselves through so much in addiction, we do need more than 100% putting it back in. Because I can tell you, it's easier today to live in recovery than it ever was to use, because it was a job.
Oh, yeah. Chasing the streets, doing everything that you have to do.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And waking up, you know, sick, knowing that you got to find, you know, no matter what, thieving, you know, whatever you have to do to get that drug. And, you know, but it is so true, though, because honesty is the first thing. That's what I tell the girls all the time, you know, just be real, just be honest, you know, no one's going to eat you, you know, just tell it like it is. And that's hard to do, though, because people, whether it's hurting someone's feelings, just not wanting to talk, because you always have the ones that's like, well, I just don't want to say anything. Well, if you don't say something, you're going to go back to the same. My husband, I love how he uses it. He calls it the hog pen. He said, if you live with hogs, you're going to smell like them. You know, you either go back to hog pen, and because he uses the prodigal son a lot, you know, because he said, you know, the father came and met him, and the prodigal son seen he wanted a better life. And that's what we have to do. You have to want that life. You have to want your life back. You have to take your life back. You know, if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you. They can't do it for you.
Right.
It's a job. My job is to keep my life where it has to be. I have to keep myself in check before I can keep someone else. And if we don't do that, then, you know, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm not just saying that, like I said, because you're here, but I use you as so much of the time as a reference, because I see what you do, and I see the change no longer than I have known you in the past few years. I mean, I see the change even as you're growing, you know, and the desire to help people and show them that there is a help. And that's like you were saying, you know, as being a certified recovery specialist. And that's what I was sharing earlier, because she can help you whether, if you cannot go into a program, that's one thing that Susan can do. She can help you set up a recovery plan and goals to help you with meetings, to help you just explain a little bit how you do individualize that for each person.
Well, when we start meeting, I try to see what they like to do, you know, putting hobbies and putting things where you like to work. We have to put everything together, because recovery is a lifestyle change.
Yes, it is.
At the beginning of a recovery plan, it really just depends on the person. If someone's been in recovery before, but they've relapsed, they have recovery time. Their sobriety date just changed. So you take that recovery time and you apply it to your new sobriety date. With me, I have almost 3.5 years sober, but my recovery time exceeds that because I still use what I learned, years before that.
Yeah.
So we try to just put in place what they need at that time. If it's the first time they've ever been in recovery, I encourage them to work on themselves and then work on getting a job. Because if I'm not strong enough to handle a job and having money in my pocket, which could be a trigger.
That's a big trigger.
Addiction is worldwide. It
Cell
is
phone.
rampant. Right, a cell phone. And
Yeah.
sometimes that it can't just keep us sober and it can't make us use, but it could be a part of it. And so to make sure that we're healthy and that we can handle life, because real true recovery is living it out in the world.
Yeah.
Applying what you've learned in a facility and putting it to use in the world. And so as I'll encourage tools of recovery and have them try it, and it's up to them. I don't ever say you should or you need to. Those are words we don't know because this is someone else's recovery. I can't handle mine and everybody's different. So I want to encourage them, this meeting's out there. Or what about this tool? And then I'll encourage them to use it and ask them the next week, did you use it? Do you think that it could be a part of your recovery? How did it help you? And some people say, I can't use that. I don't like to go to meetings. I'd rather do one-on-one. And so it's truly individual.
Right.
I tell people that nothing you say is going to shock me. Nothing you say is right or wrong. Nothing that you feel or you have to ask a question about. Nothing is right or wrong because we're all different. So it's just individual. And it starts with talking, and I encourage them to be honest. Some people still can't. But, when you come into recovery, people have addiction to lying. People have addiction to stealing. And so the only way to change that is to work on it, even if you don't want to be honest about it, but you're working on it still inside. And we can work on a lot by ourselves without help, but we need a lot of help, to keep working on things. So there's so much to recovery. I don't have the answer. You don't have the answer.
No.
But if each of us come together and we say, there's all of this out there that's offered, let's put it together and see what works for you. Because nobody can hand me a packet and say, here,
this is
here's
what
your
it
recovery.
takes. If that was the case, everybody would be clean.
Right.
I mean, the people that wanted to be.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe motivation is the key to a strong recovery. I need motivation. I own my recovery. Nobody can take it from me. I've worked hard for it. So when I hit milestones or I see that I've changed another way, I'm proud of myself. I'm going to say that. And we're scared to say we're proud of ourselves. What are people going to think if I say this? And today I wouldn't do what I'm doing if I listened to the world, because they told me, who do you think you are? Well, I am a recovering heroin addict, but today I know that I live. And I want to fight for other people. So one phrase that God has given me, and now our events are called the Voice of Hope. God kind of fed through me that I am the voice of the still suffering addict. I'm the voice of the parents that scream for their children. I am the voice of the children that cry for their parents. I'm the voice of hope. I almost cried.
That's good. That is good, because we are. We are, and so many times, the women that I deal with, that was really good. That was, so many people that I deal with, just like this morning. And one of the ladies, one of her family members was on a job, and it was not here in Connersville, but he let his friend out to go to the restroom, and he didn't come back out. Now, this just happened this morning, like at 7:30. And him and his other buddy went in and, knocked on the restroom door at the gas station. And he didn't answer. And they finally got worried, went in, and he had overdosed. I mean, it's happening so much. And they knew he was, having struggles, but they didn't realize the depth of it, and they worked with him every day.
Right.
And I mean, they were devastated when they called the house this morning. They were devastated. And you know, to me, I'm like you. I love working with people. And so, you know, when they call and they'll say, Sharon, tell me what to do, I count that an honor. Mm-hmm. You know, because I want to help people. I want to be that hope. Right. I want to be able to reach out and say, you know, let me tell you what you can do. You know, let me help you. I'm like you. I won't do it for them, but I will definitely offer them tools. I'll pray with them. I'll give them the word. I will help them in any way that I can. You know, and just summarizing, you know, everything that we've talked about, just because I know you're a great writer. She writes poems and encouragement. Just speak to the people from your heart. Just tell them, you know, what if this was the last time you were able to talk to someone, an addict, what would you say to them today?
Well, we're on Facebook, and part of what I do is I put on a thought for today every morning, and I just pray about it and start typing. I don't take credit for any of it. I've realized what my purpose is today, and I have a talent of writing, so he just feeds it through me. At the end of the night, we put a post to end the night, and all of it's geared to motivate. If the only thing you can say to someone is, you know, I heard about this girl, and she really did a lot in her life, and she went downhill, but now this is who she is, and get on this site and just see what she writes, and that can motivate someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I get all the time where I put a thought for today and somebody says, man, I needed that. I don't know who it's for, but I know that it's for someone because that's what he lays on my heart. To the families, you know, learn what enabling and motivating is. Really, there's not a lot of books that really teach that.
No, there's not.
It has to come. There's a lot of resources in every community. There's going to be a recovering addict. There's going to be facilities that you can talk to and just find out what you need to do. When it comes to loved ones, I also say a little phrase, and it is not your fault. It is not your problem, and you cannot fix us. You can motivate us.
Yeah.
But you can't fix us because sometimes family members take all of that on to themselves, and it's
trying
stressful.
to fix them. Yes.
It is stressful, and then you can have a nervous breakdown. Stress is huge when it comes to physical ailments, and you develop a lot of sickness because you're stressed out.
Yeah.
So family members, for them to talk to someone and start healing themselves. Because, this is awful. It's awful. I don't like to cry, but I can tell you that hearing about people dying tears me up. Because I know what active addiction feels like. Mm-hmm. And I know at the end of my addiction, where I wanted help desperately, that I was begging for it, I'd rather die than to have kept using. I prayed to die.
Oh, yeah.
Now I don't.
Now you pray to live.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've always told people, you may be one relapse away, but you may not have the recovery. Right. So there's so many things that goes with addiction. And I am so glad that you were my guest today. I know that Susan has said something to encourage you, and I know she encourages everyone that she's around because she's great at what she does. If you have any questions, go to her Facebook page, Unchained Praises, and just know that she's a voice of hope, and reach out to her. God bless you and have a wonderful day.